Yo, check out my new office. So originally I was planning to make a vlog about the whole New York City trip thing, but as soon as we got there and I pulled out my camera, I realized there's just no way I'm comfortable enough walking around the city talking to a camera in front of everyone. I almost gave up on this video, but there were a few things that happened that I thought might be interesting to talk about. So I ended up just getting a bunch of random shots of stuff that we did and things that we saw, and I thought I could just do a voiceover of everything that's happening. So this video is about my first time exploring New York City. So we started the trip off by taking the train from New Haven, Connecticut to Grand Central Station, checked into our Airbnb, and then hit the town.
There is a large mural called Constellation. That is the constellation Mercury, the Milky Way, all that good stuff.
For a while, went to Times Square, which was pretty epic. That's been on my bucket list for a while, so that was pretty cool.
I got an hour. It's pretty crowded out here. I just hope my only goal is just not to get shanked. No, I'm on 46 in Broadchurch.
But by that time it was getting kind of late, so we decided to go to an arcade bar. Now I need to backtrack a little bit. I was with my two friends this whole time, and one of the biggest reasons they wanted to go to the city was to experience the nightlife and check out all the clubs and stuff. But I had never been clubbing before, that's not really my kind of thing. But I thought it'd be cool to experience in the city, so I decided to tag along. So after playing some games at the arcade bar for a while, we went to another club. And let's just say, it was exactly what I was expecting. But that place was sick. We had a rooftop view of like the city. We weren't that high up, but it was still dope. And after hanging out there for a few hours, we barely caught the last train back to our Airbnb at almost 2 a.m. Got some sleep and did it all again the next day. No, I'm just kidding. The next day we did kind of the same thing. We went to Central Park, which was dope. Walking through the woods, it feels like an entirely different world. You can barely hear the traffic, you can't see all the buildings or anything. It's pretty sweet. After checking out Central Park, we went to get some food somewhere, and we went to this Italian restaurant. And this is one of the funny stories I was talking about in the beginning. We went to this Italian restaurant. The three of us were just standing there. Me in particular, I had on like a crappy t-shirt and shorts. So we were just standing there waiting for a waiter to come and get us a table. And I was looking around, and there was like people in fancy suits and dresses drinking wine. It was definitely a high-end restaurant. And when the waiter came out, he gave us a look like he was trying to say, really? You guys are gonna eat here? I mean, he wasn't rude or anything, but he definitely gave us a look. So we ordered drinks first. We just got water because I thought it would be free. It wasn't. And after looking at the prices on the menu, we decided to leave. It was like 50 bucks for a plate of spaghetti, which is absolutely ridiculous. At least I thought it was. So we left and went to a different place. And since it was a Friday night, we really wanted to check out the nightlife and the clubs and everything, see what it's like on a Friday night. And actually, Friday nights seem pretty crazy. We had to walk around for like 2 or 3 hours just to find a place that we could afford to get in. Every place was charging like 200 bucks just to walk in the club. And after finally finding a place that was actually open, that didn't cost an arm and a leg to get in. We went in and it was definitely cool, I'll admit that. But it's not my thing. I'm not into like loud music or dancing or drinking or anything like that, so I hung out there for a while. This was definitely one of the coolest places we went to. They had a slide, so that was dope. And after hanging out at the club for like an hour or two, I was getting tired and bored, so I decided to leave. But before going home, I really wanted to see Times Square at night, because in so many movies and other videos I've seen, people always show Times Square at night and it looks absolutely epic. So from the club we were at, I decided to walk like 30 minutes to Times Square, and it was pretty cool. I got a couple sweet videos. It was definitely worth it. And then I hopped on the subway and started heading home. But after like going through 2 or 3 stops, I pulled out my GPS to make sure I was going in the right direction, and it was pointing in the opposite direction of where I needed to go. And the train I was on was gonna stop like 2 stops from where I was and stop going for the night. So if I made it to there, I was screwed. So I jumped off the train real quick and started trying to figure out where I needed to be. Turns out I was on the wrong side, so I walked up, around, and came back down where I thought I needed to be. And I was walking around, looking at the signs, trying to figure out which one was mine, and I thought I had it, because there was an arrow pointing this way, and then I'd walk that way, and I'd see another arrow pointing back, so I'd walk back, and I walked back and forth between there for like 20 minutes. I couldn't figure it out at all, and eventually I asked somebody, and thank God this guy was super nice. He was like, "Oh yeah, dude, this is like the most complicated train station in New York. There's 3 levels, it takes you forever to find everything. It's because there's like 4 different trains that come into here all at once." And I was like, well, frick. But thankfully he was super helpful. He walked around with me trying to find the right place to go. And we ended up walking all the way up like 3 levels to the very top level, almost to the gate. Like say the gate was over here where you enter, we were right here at the top of the stairs. There was just a long hallway and then another stairway down to another platform. And he said, "All right, you go up this hallway, down the stairs, and that's your stop." And he was already late for his train at this point, so I was just super grateful that he was able to help me for this long. So I was like, "Thank you, man." And he left, and I ran up there, and I walked down the stairs, and I was looking at the sign, and on the sign was the train I was supposed to go to. There was another arrow pointing down the hallway. And a guy standing there saw me looking very confused, and he was like, "Yo, where are you headed?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm going back to Queens." And he's like, "Oh, well, you're in the wrong spot. You gotta go up the stairs and back down that way." And I was like, "Oh, okay, thanks." So I walked back up the stairs, and at this point I was so ridiculously confused because the other guy told me to come down here. This guy was telling me to go back the way I came. I had no idea what's going on. It had been like an hour of me walking around this train station trying to figure out where I need to go. And I was just completely lost. It was like 2 a.m. and I saw these 2 construction workers walking towards me, and I was like, these guys will know where to go. They work here. So I asked them, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we don't know where to go. We just work here." And I was like, wow, that's super helpful. But he said, "Yeah, but what you got to do is you got to walk out the gate that you have to go through to pay." And I knew as soon as I walked through there that I would have to pay again to get back in. And I knew this was the right stop, so I was super hesitant to do that. But he was like, "Yeah, you walk through the gate, talk to the ticket master, and he'll let you back in for free." These 2 guys were like struggling to speak English a little bit, like they had a thick accent. So I wasn't sure if they just weren't able to tell me where to go because they didn't speak the language well, or if like, I don't know. Anyway, it was my only option, so I walked out expecting to have to pay to get back in. And I asked the guy, and he was like, "Oh yeah, if I remember correctly." And I was like, oh no, I'm screwed. Even the guy who works here full time doesn't know exactly where I'm supposed to be. But he was like, "Yeah, if I remember correctly, you walk back in right here, go back down the stairs, go to the end, walk down those stairs, turn around, go up this other flight of stairs, and that's your spot." Now, I had never heard directions that complicated before in my life, but I had to do it. And he actually did let me back through for free. I had to walk through this door on the side, which was epic. So I walked down the stairs, and the guy who had previously told me to go the other way was like, "Oh, what's up?" And I said, "The guy upstairs told me it's this way." And he looked at the sign and he was like, "Oh yeah, that's my bad. It was this way." So I don't know if that guy was just trying to screw with me, or if he just genuinely made a mistake. But I walked down those flight of stairs, turned around, walked up another flight of stairs, and finally I was where I needed to be. And apparently this level is only accessible if you walk 2 flights down from the top and then 1 flight up, which is completely ridiculous. And another thing I forgot to mention, after I did finally get to the right spot, I was the only one in the whole platform. It felt like I was waiting there for forever, but after a while, this one homeless guy showed up and he would just pace back and forth all along the whole loading area, which was a little creepy. And then after even longer, this whole group of skater kids showed up, and they were like yelling and running around, and it looked like 2 of them got into a fight, although thinking back on it now, they were probably just screwing around, but at the time it just added to the whole horrible experience. But finally I was on the right train, headed back, and it was like 3 a.m. in the morning, probably later honestly. And my friends who I left at the club texted me and they're like, "Yo, where are you? We just got back." And I was like, well, frick. If I just stayed with them, I would have got back earlier. And by the time I got back, it was like 4 a.m. And here's a clip of my reaction in the moment after almost 2 hours of trying to get back. Oh my gosh, it's literally almost 4 a.m. right now. I've never stayed out this late in my life. I'm gonna turn my flashlight off now because I need to conserve battery. But this station was so freaking complicated. I had to walk down 2 flights of stairs and then back up 1 just to get to the right floor. It was terrible. And even when I got to the right floor, I wasn't sure if it was the right floor. So, yeah, I ended up taking like an hour just finding the right train. But anyway, I've never been so happy just to be back and go to bed. And the next day we slept in, obviously, and just did kind of the same stuff as before. We went to Brooklyn, hung out for a while. And the next 2 days were just kind of the same. We checked out the local wildlife, tried some real New York cuisine, had the full experience of New York subways, checked out the New York architecture. But all in all, it was a good trip. I really enjoyed it. And I guess this is what to expect if you go to New York City in 2022. So, yeah. I guess that's everything I wanted to say. It's ridiculously hot out here. The sun is in my eyes. It's windy. I'm gonna pick up all my stuff and get out of here. So thanks for watching. been ridiculously hot the past 2 days.
Yeah, especially yesterday.
Yeah.